It's 7 o'clock. I call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. Attendance is taken. So you rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go to comments from citizens, I believe in America.
Yep. Wanted to take an opportunity to talk about Larry Reichert for a minute. He was a good personal friend of mine. I worked with his family at 3M for several years. He was a Navy veteran, served in the Korean War. He was very active in the Centralia area. He was a ride captain for the Patriot Guard Riders, and he did a lot of extra service for an honor flag and the Patriot Guard Riders, and he tragically died in a car wreck last week. I was able to go to his funeral or his service last night, and I just asked the council for a moment of silence and remembrance of Larry Reichert. Thank you, Dave.
Comments from citizens. Nothing? Close that portion. Public Safety, Police Department. There's an activity report in your packet. We just closed the comments from citizens portion. Did you have anything you'd like to? Please start my report. Oh, okay.
Can I wait for the, go ahead.
He's not just a citizen. Any questions from the activity report? Any other for the police department? Do you have anything, Chief?
Not really. Nothing of substance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Moving on to fire department. Activity reports in your packet. Including, it looks like, the entire call list for 2015.
Seems to be one category.
There's one category that sticks out. Wow. Any comments, questions?
I know this goes under, it's not really activity report, actually.
Okay.
Remember how many bags of candy that was given out on Christmas morning?
We did probably right at 1250, 1260. And we are thinking maybe we ought to go to, I mean, we've done this 1250 forever.
Yeah.
We're thinking we might have to bump it up to 13. We're really, really close now. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you don't know, some Christmases, you know, you people are out of town, it's a guess. But
Right.
we pretty well used everything up we had.
Yeah.
Do you have any carloads stopped on the road?
I mean, I don't know, James rode along, I think, with a truck, so I don't know if they did or didn't, I just stayed at the station.
The truck I was on ran out twice, so
Yeah.
you had to catch him the last time you refill them.
Wow.
I mean, we kinda keep track of that, I mean, this truck, this year, we put how many's on there.
Uh-huh.
We kinda keep we keep a record of how many goes where, what section of town takes this, that.
Okay.
The overflow that comes to the police department after the fire department is done, I'd like to plane was substantially less than it has been in years past. So if he needs to boost that up, to make sure we get our
I
phone.
just told you I asked for 13.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, thanks.
And then,
No, maybe.
and then on truck issues, I mean, I did talk to the salesman, I don't know if he called you or not, Matt.
Yeah, yeah,
Thought the chassis might be in this week,
this week, yeah.
All right.
and there's still,
Start building on it then. They can start building on it then.
yeah, there's still a long time,
Yeah.
don't get in a hurry.
It might be a graduation present.
Yeah.
It should be here in time for graduation.
There we go.
Don't mention that word.
What?
Yeah.
That's coming, it's the next thing we have in the town.
Good copy.
Anything else from fire department? Emergency management? Nothing. Protective inspection?
Really have anything to add, I guess, we did make it to, I think it was 23 single-family dwelling, applications, building permit applications, so that, I think I said that at the last meeting, that's our best 2 years that I can find on record, so.
Wow, that's excellent.
I mean, I'm only going back to the 80s though, so.
Okay. Anything else for protective inspection? General government and finance, economic development, there's a credit board, meeting minutes. Looks like in your packet. They still have their fundraiser on the 23rd?
Yes, and we are gonna buy a table, on the, up here, first of all, would like to sit at the city table. And, you're free, if you wanna bring a spouse, I should say your spouse. Yeah, you can bring a guest.
It's a fun going.
You wanna bring a guest.
That kind of party,
So if I bring somebody else, I can tell my wife, well, you said it was all right.
This is what I'm clarifying. This is what I'm clarifying.
He's getting it all down.
Exactly.
We use a definite article, not an indefinite article. So, you know, if you want to bring your spouse or a guest, yes, you may do that, but that portion we have to prorate the cost of the people.
Do we have the cost on that yet?
It would be, I think it's like $23.
Okay.
It's 100 divided by 8. Whatever that is. $25. That's a custom table.
It's $100 for the table.
300
Oh,
for
300.
the 8 seats.
So, 37.50.
How much?
300 for the table, right? It's all I'm sending an invoice, so yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so 37.50.
Okay.
That's per elected. So.
Anything else, Creddy? Related?
Now, it's the next thing is credit, so.
James is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if either of the two economic development organizations that receive public funds from the city have done anything about looking to recruit a new physician for Centralia since the last time I asked. I bring it up because if you noted last week's edition of the Fireside Guard, one of the two doctors that does work in this town is being moved one day a week to Mexico. And the population in Centralia has gone up in the last 5-6 years, but the per capita medical care is fluctuating.
I talked to the doctors at Boone Hospital a long time ago, and to set up a individual, the old-fashioned doctor with an individual practice is a model that's kind of
It's a dying breed. I
dying
think.
breed, is basically what I said. And I talked to a friend of mine who works in rural medicine at the university and is assigned to Fulton. And that's kind of what he says, that they're gonna catch on with, if there's a clinic, but other than being, you know, solitary practice
Standalone practice, yeah.
is a rare thing anymore with insurance, et cetera. They're usually an employee of something else, and the clinic belongs to, you know, the hospital or something like that.
So the city administrator is doing this, but neither are the two economic development organizations.
I'm not saying they're not doing it. I know that, you know, we have a position called city physician. We have an appointed position, which is no longer, which is
I was gonna say, who is that now?
there is
Right. Yeah,
So-
it used to be Doc Bradley. but-
right. We have not filled it since then.
Thank you.
Feasibility study meeting.
Next Monday, we plan to, I have not got the exact times, but the feasibility study is coming, the draft is coming to a conclusion. What we're looking to do is have a meeting with anyone from the board who wants to next Monday. The board of Credi and the board of the chamber to have a pre-meeting, sort of, and it would be open to the public, but discuss the results, and then they make a presentation here at the council meeting on Monday the 18th.
Okay.
And then that would be the quote-unquote preliminary, but then basically they take any comments, questions here. It would basically give the guts of the study. The final deliverable would come a week or two after that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then that would be I think we agreed to one printed report, and then the rest is online, electronic, and, you know, will be made public for anybody who wants, whoever wants it. It'll be on our website.
So they're gonna do the preliminary, next Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
It's almost done. They got the construction numbers last week, so they're just putting it just didn't have time to get it all ready for, I was hoping to do it tonight,
Mhm.
but it didn't come together. And it actually worked better for the chamber, so they could tell their board tomorrow, so it's coming to a close, or it's coming to a result, I should say. One other thing on economic development, we did get a building permit application from DG Partners to build a new Dollar General in town.
And that's over at the original Dollar General.
Yes.
On the
Yes.
west side of O'Reilly's.
Are they going to tear the old one down?
They're gonna tear the South Saloon down, and they're gonna build on the other parcel. There's probably two parcels basically they're gonna do on the other side,
They're gonna make the existing one a parking lot.
essentially.
So they moved out of that one to build a new one so that they could build a new one out there and move back.
When you put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was when they had the first one. I don't know if they always were planning to do the
I
whole
don't think
thing.
so.
Yeah.
That question, I have not asked that question.
All right, moving on, park board, pool improvements update. Got meeting minutes in your packet.
We are moving, they are working, they're doing a lot of the, have you guys driven by there and taken a look at it by any chance? They've gotten a lot of the forming done for the zero entry, I think, the zero entry ramp, and then they've submitted preliminary plans for the building. They're being reviewed at Boone County. It's progressing. We've gotten some bills for the IDA to pay on the bond, and yeah, I guess that's it. I guess, yeah, we got the opening date we have not heard anything that would put the opening date back past the original guest,
Royalty.
Royal Day. I'll let you know as we find out more information, but.
Cemetery report. Looks like, the Cooley donation.
Yeah. You have in your packet a copy of the letter that, I just wanted to acknowledge that in the meeting, a $30,000 gift from the Truman Cooley Trust. So I think that's a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Very good.
Tree board report. I assume there is none.
I did email, John Cotwick, and, he planned a tree board meeting, hopefully this quarter.
Okay.
So, with, Arbor Day coming up, first part of April, good time to have a tree board meeting. I did sign the, request to be recognized as a Tree City USA again last month. So he's been pretty diligent about putting that application in every year. I think it's like their 26th or 27th year that we're a Tree City USA, so. Yeah.
Right, moving on to library board.
I'm just, by way of an introduction, Lori Grimes is here. She, of course, is the chair of the library board. And might give us a brief introduction about their search. And then one thing that they were wondering about for their search was the possibility of having the library board director essentially work through the city's payroll so they can receive benefits. So I sent her some figures as to what that would cost. I talked to Jed Angel. He thinks one way or another that could be done. At this point, this year, the city is at the threshold of 50 employees. We're probably going to be over that next year anyway, so it really wouldn't have, the fact that we would add the library, if we added the library director, would definitely push us over. But, you know, we've got a couple of part-time people that are getting close to counting against that. Yeah, so we're so close that next year, you know, we're planning to, and one of the things I'd like to look at is the possibility of adding somebody in the water department too. So there's no one cause for this. So the library, adding the library board.
What impact will it have on us?
Well, I mean, the way I would see it is that they would, I would not suggest that the city pay the costs.
No, what the impact is having more than 50 employees have.
It
Oh.
turns us into a large employer instead of,
For the Americans, for the
Yeah.
Affordability Care Act.
yeah.
So there's a little bit more paperwork we have to file. We'd be pushing it not to file it next year.
Yeah.
So, and Heather and I have talked about this, and it's pretty much an inevitability.
And we did discuss a little bit at the department head meeting
Yeah.
on Friday morning.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
What are we shy by, like 2 or something right now?
About half.
Oh, half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
We're
planning to,
yeah.
we are, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, did you wanna?
Do you want this?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I think the budget for the library is so tight that we can't really afford to give health insurance right now to the library director, but we would love to do that because it's a benefit that, you know, most people need from the employer.
And it's a selling point for hiring a new
Yes,
director.
it would really help get a good person into the position, but we can't afford it right now. So if the city couldn't help us pay for that benefit, then we wouldn't take advantage of it, you know, by adding, you know, to that group policy. So maybe in the future, either the library or the city might be able to afford it and offer it. So it's just an idea.
Lori, is that a factor in the resignation of the last director?
I don't know for sure. She wouldn't give a valid reason for leaving, so I think it was for money or benefits or both.
Well,
I think that had a lot to do with
She
it.
may have applied for the other job at the same time she applied for this one. I don't know that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly because she wouldn't tell me, but she may have been working more than 40 hours a week to try to do a good job for us, and then realized, well, I'm not getting paid a lot, and the budget's too tight to give me raises, so she may have been thinking down the line that it just wasn't a good fit for her. We have received a little over 15 resumes, and we've looked at them and decided on a couple that for sure that we want to call. The ones from out of state, we're going to call them and see how interested they are in moving to Centralia before they come in for an interview. But we plan to start the interview process very soon, either this week or in a couple of weeks. I'll be out of town next week, so we want to make a decision pretty quickly. And right now, Leah Smoot is the interim director, and she's doing a good job as far as I know. And we'd like her to stay on in that role until we get someone hired. She says she's not interested in staying on full-time, but, and taking on the role, but I want to talk to her again just to see. And, we heard that Raven Caroline is going to be the new board member, is that true?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
and that's for the remainder of Joyce's term.
Yes.
So till 2017.
Yes, and because of the lawyer record stuff, we need another one now. So if anyone on the board knows of someone who would be a good board member for the library, please let us know. And then keep to live inside that little district, library district.
Do you remember when Larry's term expired?
Well, he had just joined in June, so it'll be 3 years from June 15th.
Okay,
So
about
2018.
Yeah. Okay.
Around June 1st of 2018 is when his would end. That's about all I have, unless you have any questions.
For those non-local candidates, doing Skype interviews, I think is.
Okay, that's a possibility.
So
Yeah,
we did it at MMA, we did it here, in fact.
Yeah.
Together.
Which you ended up with.
we got some. Colorado, yeah, Arizona, and California, New York, and Virginia, I think. So a lot of out-of-state people. So that is an option, but we'll call them first just to see if
Sure.
the salary
Yeah.
fits in with
Yeah.
what they want, because if it doesn't, then they're off the table anyway.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you're absolutely right. Larry's term goes to July of 18.
Okay, thank you.
So, and just looking at the costs for insurance now are very closely tied to age. So based on our city's experience, what we're talking about in terms of costs for the health benefits are for just the employee somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 a month for the individual. And then if they follow the city plan, the city pays for the all children and half of spouses for anyone hired from now on. So that's give you an idea.
It could be more than that.
Yeah, so they're talking about $6,000+ for just that, plus the other benefits. So
For a year,
yeah,
Okay.
so it's not cheap.
Right. And right now, the library has no reserves, and we need to build that up again for emergencies. So I just don't see that happening this year.
Yeah.
I can see how a candidate would just expect that benefit to be in place.
Well, and I'm you know, I assume that we're not contemplating covering that, because it would really, unfortunately, muddy the waters in our relationship if we start taking on an extra expense for them.
Right.
But there's a lot of different ways to make it happen if something happens in your finances.
Something that we can explore further.
Right. Thank you.
When's your next meeting, Laurie?
Oh, this Thursday.
Okay.
At 6:15.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time. The December 2015 financial statements. Information in your packet.
Take care of it.
Thank you, Danny.
Good night.
Thank you.
Any questions on the financial statements?
I'm beginning to get the budget information ready for, you should see, next month meetings will be largely budget. We've got a lot of budget stuff in the juicy.
And breathless in
I
anticipation.
didn't think you would be.
Bills over $1,250.
Page 69.
That's a pretty sizable overpayment. The
Yeah,
water.
yeah, and I didn't finish, somebody asked me earlier. It has to do with the different sizes of meters. We put in a new meter at the intermediate school, and the program, it wasn't the amount it's reading was not properly programmed into the billing system.
I see.
So we were billing them about 100 times, or 10 or 100 times as much water as they use.
It looks like a multiplier system. Right?
Precisely,
Yeah.
precisely.
So they had like a 4-inch pipe coming in, but they were only charging for 2.
Something like,
Vice
yeah,
versa,
there's a,
something like
vice
that.
versa, yeah,
Vice versa.
there's a high flow meter and a low flow meter. And so I think what they were doing is adding a low flow meter as if it was a second high flow meter or something like that, so we,
Discrepancy that was found.
it was found, and we sent them a check, or we're sending them a check.
Yeah, exactly.
We're,
Did they know this is, or did?
we caught it. Well, I mean, they have it, and not to, I talked to Darren, he said, we thought it was a little high, but you gotta realize they get a lot of bills for a lot of buildings, and picking that out of the,
Mix.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that was more than 1 month too, right?
yeah, it was, 2, I think. It's a big building, it needs a lot, it's 2 or 3 months, I think. It wasn't a long time, but we way overcharged, so.
I think the last big one we had was out in Cargill before Lynn retired.
Yeah, where we,
Where we caught it,
yeah, okay.
we had to refund some money.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, moving on. Other general government. Ballot language for the vehicle sales tax issue.
You approved at the last meeting, in the recess meeting, language to put on the ballot the reinstatement of the sales tax on vehicles sold not by a licensed state licensed auto dealer, so either person to person or out of state. The language we used was the best language that the MML suggested for fourth-class cities. It is not necessarily the only possible language. The county is moving forward on putting a ballot on the issue, the same essential topic on the issue, to collect the county sales tax on the same purchases. And Hallsville apparently is probably voting on this tonight as well. Both of them are proposing to use language that they feel confident is legal and puts the question such that yes means to have the tax. If you recall, the language we approved, no means having the tax. Yes means,
It's very confusing, right?
right. Basically, we're asking them, are you okay with the fact that the tax has been repealed?
Yeah, you give the negative to affirm that you want it.
Right,
You know.
which is how it was put, one of the languages that was put in the ballot, in the law, in the statute. So, the easy thing is to say, oh, say it's all Merritt's fault. And since he's not here, it's tempting. but that wouldn't be fair. So he, but that really wouldn't be fair. So he did it he did it the best way,
It was the recommended way.
the recommended way. But he's convinced, we talked about this, he talked to C.J. Dykehouse at the county, and they're pretty certain they're going to go through. We could either be resolute and pure and confuse the voters. Or we could draft language to make our language match what Hallsville is likely to approve tonight. And this is just to put it on the ballot. And what the counties, and the other cities, including fourth-class cities, have put it on the ballot with positive language, and it's,
Nobody's challenged it.
no one's successfully challenged it, correct?
Since the city residents would be also voting on the county one, it might be more confusing to have two different languages
Yeah.
for the same
I
thing.
agree.
It would be confusing for me,
Yeah.
a little bit. I'd walk in there saying, now, which one's it? No, but for anybody who doesn't go to these meetings, yes, I agree.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, there's still something about, you're going to give the negative to affirm that you want it,
Yeah.
is the part that, okay, I just doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm okay if we need to change it to mirror the other language and kind of avert some of that confusion.
So,
Change it to the next meeting.
yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind making a motion to do that, just so that we have it in the proper, so, because we're asking to draft an ordinance to rescind something we just did, so.
Well, but you can bring an ordinance to us, and we can just.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think I have to, I just prefer.
Well, just,
There's a
No.
quick question. I remember you said at last meeting that there would be some sort of a penalty if this was done in November instead of in April.
The city is going to have the city's going to have a, election. And we know we have one contested, yeah, and there is, so we're going to be charged to hold an election in the city, a municipal election in the city in April.
Right.
And we probably work. That is the cheapest, we wouldn't have to spend, any additional cost, any incremental cost to add this ballot language is going to be very small. If we hold an election in August, as I think a lot of the Kansas City area is going to do it in August, or in November, we're going to have to bite a pretty expensive bullet to hold another election. There's a charge that's charged to the cities.
Even if it's on at the
Yes.
same time as the general election.
Yes, yes, we have to, and I don't know what it would be, but when we did this when we had a ballot issue in November in Fulton, it was almost as much as doing an April election. Our cost for an April election is around, let's say $3,500, so we could anticipate an additional cost of $2-3 grand.
Yeah, it's all in August.
In August or September,
It-
August or November.
The only reason I ask is because the difference between the April elections and the general election in November is a matter of turnout. The turnout in the general election, particularly a general election that actually has a presidential election with it, is much, much, much higher than you ever get at a municipal April election. And invariably, it's just the nature of election demographics. The smaller the turnout for an election, the more conservative that turnout tends to skew, and the more anti-tax that turnout tends to skew. So if it's in the city's interest to get a yes vote on this, under the new language, then it would seem to behoove the city to consider delaying it for the general election so that you have a larger turnout. Also, simply for the general principle of having more people putting their voice to it.
Well, that's true, but there's only a small incremental cost to doing it in April.
Right.
If it fails, we could go up and put it up in August anyway.
Well, I wasn't saying August, I was saying November, since,
And since this is the same time the county is doing it, it makes more sense to do it now with them than with Hallsville than it does.
The county has asked that the cities go together. I'm not sure that Sturgeon has made a decision, and I can't remember what Ashland. I think Ashland was not going to. Is that? Or,
I don't know.
Okay. But yeah, traditionally municipal elections are in April. Yeah, I can. We'll go ahead. What I would recommend is go ahead and draft the language. We can repeal both the last ordinance and defeat this ordinance next time if you want. I can give you a better idea of what the cost would be in a week.
Okay.
Um,
We need a motion.
Yeah.
You got consensus. Didn't hear anybody think against it.
Well, usually when you, okay, all right, so no one objects to us drafting an ordinance for next week that would put the ballot language in a positive for an April election. All right.
Energy savings project preliminary assessment.
Talked with Greg Modlish this week. Or actually last week, middle of last week. He has done the preliminary assessment. Remember, he came here. He originally was with Siemens. Now he's switched firms, but he's still working on the project with. He's with 360 Engineering, and working also with another company called Wildan. He found 3 potential projects. One of them is the one we described with the the one that we first looked at was doing an LED replacement across the board on our streetlights to replace the high pressure sodium. One of them was some improvements to the water department and plant that would kind of be predicated on the idea that we could gain some savings, significant savings, by replacing our water meters. So the first thing there would be to test a set of water meters, and we're still using the mechanical read water meters, which are, you know, the new generation, but they still tend to lose. The industry estimate is about 0.5% of accuracy a year. Based on the age of our meters, we could possibly save literally over 30 years a net savings of over, you know, close to $1 million, $700,000.
So
Even with the
mechanical
cost of
meters are
product.
just inaccurate?
They tend to be.
Is that on the positive or the negative?
Almost always in the negative. They just don't catch everything that goes through. The next generation will be all digital and will probably last longer. Electric meters, where you've got a lot more at stake, tend to lose a lot less. Even though our electric meters are older, many of them are older, you'd have to, the amount of read loss is so insignificant that was not recommended to look at. And then the third thing was efficiencies in lighting and heating in this building. And I know about 96, we're about 20 years past the last time we did that, but he believes there's some significant savings. So the next thing would be to bring back that, our plan would be to bring that report to you on February 1st at the Public Safety and Public Works meeting. And have you go over that and decide whether we want to go out and issue and with that, we're going to look at a couple of different ways of proceeding. Traditional request for qualifications, RFQ. Or there are a couple of procedures where we would, where we could continue on with the firm that we're working with right now through a statewide program where they're already pre-qualified, or through another process where you declare a energy efficiency district in the city, and which would may open up some options for some other, for private industry and other public entities. Basically what I'm telling you is that we've got those 3 projects will be presented on the 1st, February 1st, at our Public Works and Public Utilities meeting. One of the big questions would be, A, do we want to move forward at all? B, are we looking at the numbers he's given me, and because right now we have no contract with him, we have no investment at all with him, they're reluctant to have us share a lot publicly because, you know, somebody else could come along and, but generally speaking, if we borrowed money over a 10-year period, assuming we get somewhere in the neighborhood of 3% financing, we get a bigger payback, but there'd be a few years where we would be actually having to pay money into that the energy savings and maintenance savings would not pay for the project as we go. 15-year financing tends to be less savings overall, but much less time where not many years where we're more than a couple $1,000s down in an individual year, based on the projected energy savings. So,
Okay.
so those are something to frame your thoughts for the first. But so that'll be coming up.
Anything else for under general government and finance? Moving on to other 2015 Citizens Survey Results Final Report.
Yeah, it was included in your packet. Probably send that out and make sure that I think overall it's really positive. We talked about it a little bit at the work session retreat, but overall positive scores again, except for on a handful of things which we knew beforehand were a problem. Where you had one of those being sidewalks. We're looking at we discussed at the retreat the idea of going out for bid on a sidewalk contract for both the city and individuals who want to do some, so that they have a contract for doing sidewalks in the cities if the people want to use it, probably get a better price. And if we guaranteed them some work, then that would make it an attractive contract. So that'll be coming back sometime during the budget process. More people participated. I think that's pretty cool. We had 122 people total last time. We had 182 responses on paper before the deadline. We had 20 people do it online, and we've had 3 or 4 that came in after I tallied it. So that's
good.
I think the more if people get used to this, and it also one of the things to consider in the long term is going towards you're using customer satisfaction ratings towards performance standards.
Sure.
Something to move into in the long term.
Well, if you don't measure it, how do you?
Can't
You really know it's anecdotal at that point.
Right. You can't manage what you don't measure, or something like that.
As may arise.
I do have the number on the change order for the Bartlett and West. We'll be coming back at the next meeting with that, approving that. It was the total cost for Bartlett and West and the flagman was $17,000. So we're going to have 2 change orders. One to add that as when we set out the second round of bids, we knew we were going to eat that cost. So we now know what it is. We got a change order for that. We also have a change order to our advantage of about $2,500. The Little Rock, we said that we would do the grading and seeding. Little Rock doesn't have to come back to town to do that in the spring, so they're going to give us $2,500 for our guys to do that. The total net project was therefore is up to the total cost was $109,241 from the original was $91,161, something really close to that.
And that was a good 3 hole, 4 hole.
4, yeah.
Were we under or over?
We ended up over.
We were
Seven-
over.
Well, it's
17 in
Because of
addition,
flagman.
2,500 subtracted. But when we went out for the second round of bids, part of that bid packet was that we were going to eat that cost, so we kind of knew that was coming. The $2,500 was, but we're gonna have to do more work, but we might save some money.
Yeah.
And then we can put this one, it'll be done.
Did you have something?
Martin Luther King Day is, the 18th. We don't move our meeting for that day, right?
We have never done that.
We don't move the meeting, that's what you said, we'll have council meeting.
Yes,
We'll have
we
council
do.
meeting.
It is a work
It's
day.
a federal holiday, not a city or, city holiday.
That's it. It's never been recognized as a city holiday.
We're gonna have our technical advisory committee meeting on the 21st.
On the 21st at 4 p.m. And I do have draft, did I mention this? I have a draft RFP for a phone and, actually IT service. Police station are happy with theirs. The site, not so much. We have a different vendor.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah, I understand why they're looking for something.
We're not messing with theirs.
Any other SNRs?
I have one,
Sir?
maybe a little interest to you all, but this Friday evening at the basketball game is Centralia blackout day against Palmyra. Start playing about 5:30, it's blackout day, so if you want to come wear your black and white, great.
Excellent. 5:30?
JV and varsity. Very good.
Thank you.
Well, hearing no other topics?
I'm over here.
Second.
We have a motion in front of a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed?
Somebody who's actually,
Second.